Hey there, YouTubers. I'm making a Logic 10 tutorial today. I'm making a house EDM template tutorial. What this basically is just an arrangement of drums and some percussion that you load up every time you start up your session if you want to create like a house style track. This saves you time, like having to put the drums in individually each time. You just save it as a template and then you load that up and then just create from there where your drums included. Just get to dive in with your inspiration. So I'll give you a quick demonstration of our drums here in context with a few motifs and leads and a bass. So here goes. So that's the drum loop we'll be making today. As I say, this helps you work quicker when you get inspiration from whatever. So I'll get straight to it. The first thing we'll work on is our kick. If you've not already made a new track, you could put in a new software instrument track here if you haven't already done so. Rename it kick or whatever you like. All our drums will be coming from Ultrabeat. These have got quite good samples in Ultrabeat that come standard with Logic Pro. So when I was producing, like to start off about a year ago, I used to always try and find the best samples like off of websites and stuff, but actually I was just lazy and wanting the samples to be really good to start off with, but managed to find good samples within Logic itself, so you don't need extra stuff unless you're really wanting it. So first thing you do is insert Ultrabeat into your instrument channel here and then open it up. So Ultrabeat, we've got Ultrabeat open. You want to go to Drum Banks, Kick Bank, and then click that and it'll come up with this display here, all these different kicks. All these kicks are synthetic kicks which are perfect for creating an EDM style track, and in this case house. What I've got here, I've got two kicks layered up on top of each other in the same channel. Other people prefer, well, some people prefer to split these up and put one kick drum on each channel, but in this case I'm just using the one channel. It works for what I've got set up here. So first of all, we've got our bottom red MIDI notes here on every downbeat and offbeat at full velocity. This would be our 909 kick. This provides the thump and body to the kick. Also, the velocities are all the same. This is quite important in this kind of music because this is where the energy comes from. So you've got to make sure all your kicks are exactly the same velocity. And if you don't know how to change the velocity, you just pick your velocity tool on either toolbar here, and then hold the command and drag up and down, or you can use your slider here at the side and just make sure that they're all the same velocity. This ensures that you've got the same power coming from each kick. Right, so we've got our 909 here, and I've got it layered up with another kick here. I think it's a lo-fi one. I'll single out the lo-fi and see what it sounds like on its own. It doesn't sound like much, it's just basically a click we've got here. If you guys are following along to what I'm doing here, your release time for this lo-fi kick will be about here, and it will sound like this. this lo-fi kick, the release time, I put the release time to 0 because I only want the initial click of the sound, because we've got the body from the 909, so we're putting these two together to make our good kick. And if you leave it with this release time, that sounds quite slack. There's got a lot of mid-range stuff that we don't need in here, so what we'll do, I'll play it through and just tighten up to show you the difference. That's all we need, and combined with a 909 sounds quite good. There's well, you put the top click kind of kick in to cut through the mix and provide the transient to cut through the bass. If you just had the 909 by itself, it wouldn't stand out as much and wouldn't be so prominent. So what you're looking for is a kick with body, whether it be an 808, 909, and whatever click you like of any kick, and just make sure you're just getting the click and no body to the kick here. So we've got both of these layered up. I've also got a few inserts here. I've got a channel EQ, just taking the sub away. This doesn't really make any difference, it's kind of just housekeeping. So I've not altered the EQ here. Some people would alter the lower frequencies here, but this is what this sub bass is doing here. I'll show you in a second. So we'll just leave that as is. I've got a compressor on here just to make the kick tighter. Give me an example. It's just makes it that bit punchier, and it's quite good in this app. Like a VCA circuit type or a FET circuit type for drums are quite good, because they're quite fast acting compressors which compress the sound based on your settings here. Compression itself is another topic, so if you just want to copy these settings, these are quite good for the kick here. So that adds punchiness and tightness to the kick itself. The sub bass just gives it a boomy feel to the bottom end of the kick, which is why we don't add any EQ. So I'll turn this sub bass on here. It makes a bit like a subtle difference, but it's quite, you could hear it quite a bit, and I think anywhere above 80% wet, it just starts to sound quite muddy and floppy. So keep that 80 or below, I'd say. Makes it quite good. So this is a good setup to start off for your kick. Quite a punchy, tight kick. You also, if you want to tune your kicks to your track or whatever key you're working in, you do this by changing the pitch here of both the kicks if you want, and it's good to try a fifth above as well, because that's harmonically sound with whatever key you're working in, but in this case we'll just keep it as is. Also, the next thing we've got is our snares. I've got a top end snare. By this I mean the EQ. Like I've EQ'd everything from 1000 Hz down, because I just want the high frequencies of this snare. This is quite a nice snare, and I've also layered it up with two other snares, but I'll get on to that in a second. I'll show you this first. Right, so we've got our EQ at the top end. We've got a compressor. This takes out the harshness of this snare, just so it's not so harsh when you hear it in the mix. Quite medium compression. It just makes that little transient tighter. I've also got a sample delay on here. What the sample delay does is it delays the sample, funnily enough. Like your right speaker plays it instantly, and then your left speaker plays it just a few milliseconds later, and this creates a widening effect between your both speakers or headphones, however you're listening to your samples. This is good to use on snares because your kick is dead center, and you can imagine two snares hitting the speakers each side. So kick is in the middle, then two snares each side gives you that stereo width, and it works well to differentiate between the two. I've also done the same for the low. I'll show you actually. Sorry, I've got this on Ultrabeat again. I've went into drum banks, snare bank, and I've chosen a massive snare. I've not altered anything with this snare at all. I've just kept it as is. So we'll go into the next snare. What I've done here is I've opened up Ultrabeat, the same thing again, open up your snare bank, and I've layered up two snares here. I've layered up a low snare one and a massive snare again, and I've EQ'd this differently though. This is to add like a boxiness to the sound, which fitted quite well with the track. So I'll pull this down and let you hear the boxiness that I've added through EQing. And that works quite well when mixed together. So we've got that, we've got our top end snare, sampled, delayed, compressed a little, EQ'd, low end out. We've got our EQ'd around 1000 Hz, and compressor just the same, and sampled, delayed just the same again, just so both of them are exactly delaying by the same amount. So both of these with the kick together, you hear the kick dead center and then the snares either side. This makes everything sound a bit better in the stereo field. Right, okay, so we've got that. The next thing we'll go on to is our open hat. Our open hat creates syncopation between our kick and our hat. By this I mean our kicks are on every downbeat and offbeat, and our open hats are in between each of these hats. So this instantly creates a groove for us to latch onto, which is standard within a EDM house style track. It doesn't need to be so robotic. You can add a few notes here and there to kind of shuffle it up a little or add some swing. Just depends how you like it. Just keep it simple for this demonstration. So we've got our snares and our kicks and the open hat. Computer's running quite hot, sorry guys, that fan's quite loud. Right, so our open hat, what I've done here, I've just opened up Ultrabeat again. I've done drum banks, hi-hat bank. These are synthetic drums, hi-hats, and I think it's a gritty hi-hat I've got on the go here. Yep, a gritty hi-hat. I've not altered anything in this either, so just leave that as is. I've got an EQ just rolling off low end, anything below 500 with percussion, you don't really need unless it's like bongos or stuff. I've also got a bus on it here, but I'll explain that after. I forgot to mention the position of snares and kicks, but the kicks are, I did mention the kicks actually downbeat, offbeat, but then the snares are on the offbeat to make the offbeat kicks sound more powerful and to create variation. So we've got our kick, snares, open hat. The next thing we've got is our closed hat. Our closed hat is again opened with Ultrabeat and went into the hi-hat bank again, and I've chosen just a different hat to work with this time. I think it's an Italio hat I've got on the go. Yep, and I've got these set, same velocity. I kind of changed here a block for a bar and then kind of repeated the same pattern over and over. I've got one every 16th here, it's to kind of emphasise the movement kind of feel of the track. So if I play both the hats together, it kind of feels like somebody's running. And again, you could shuffle this up. I'll show you how a little thing you could do here to shuffle it up without actually doing the notes. But you could take notes away, add notes, and see what you could come up with. Again, I've just EQ'd the low end of this off, and I've kind of put a wee bit of a notch up at 10k just to make it more airy, I guess. Okay, so we've got that. So this little insert I've got on this is our arpeggiator. This comes standard with the Logix 10. The arpeggiator changes whatever we've got programmed into it. In this case, we've got our closed hats programmed in, and if you set it to 1/16 the rate up, it doesn't really matter which direction if it's for just hats. Options, and I've added 5% swing. This just makes it kind of like shuffly hat instead of quite robotic. I'll show you the difference. Right, so this is what off, and then we're on. Quite subtle, but it does add a little bit of groove to it, which is quite good. So this is quite a powerful tool to use on anything really. Like if you want to arpeggiate a melody out of chords, or this, for example, put some swing into your drums or whatever you like. Just be creative with it. It's quite a good tool to use. Right, so that's that. Right, so we've got them covered. Now we'll go on to our other percussion we've got. I've got cowbells here, panned mid left, and again low cut, around 500, and a little notch up at 10 again, just for some brightness. See what the cowbells sound like on their own. Okay, right, so I've got the cowbells sent to a few buses here. The first bus is a Bright Hall reverb. To send them to a bus rather than insert them on a channel means that you could send various amounts of elements or instruments to the same bus, which in turn allows all the tracks to sound as one, or like if you had different elements and you wanted them all be in the same sonic space. This is quite useful, having them to sends rather than inserts. So we've got Bright Hall here, which is medium spaces, halls, Bright Hall. Keep the dry right down 0%, and the reverb up to 10 decibels, minus 10. And then you adjust how much you actually want to send to that bus, how much of the cowbell signal or whatever signal you want to send to that exact bus here. So obviously that's way too much, but just find the right space for you for whatever track you're making. I've also got a sample delay on that. Well, I did actually have a sample delay when I had them just in the middle here, but I chose to pan one left and one right, so we could take that off. This bus 16 I'll go to in a second once I've covered this. Actually no, to get the percussion in the first place you go to Ultrabeat again, and you go to drum banks, percussion bank, and I've chosen, I think it's cow and high cowbell. Right, okay, so cow and high cowbell. I took inspiration from Deadmau5's track, Fixin' Berlin, amazing track. Just kind of altered that a wee bit, just for a wee bit of the percussion going on here. And our second percussion we've got on the go is just a few different noises from the same Ultrabeat percussion bank. So metal, shaker, block. And what I've got going on here, I've got it EQ'd again, rolled off below 500, and I've got it notched up at about 7,000 Hertz to kind of a different frequency range from the cowbells, so they're not both taking up the same space as the hats and the open hat. So I've kind of just mixed things up, EQing at a different space. So that's that. I've also got a stereo delay on here, which delays the initial like instrument whenever the block set delays to whatever delay you've got set here. But this is quite a good setting for what I came up with anyway. So I'll turn it off, let you hear it. As you hear, it's quite dry, it doesn't have any space, whereas if you play it with this, it does. And with music, it's not about what you hear, it's about what you don't hear, which makes things sound professional. In this case, it works quite well. So I've got a stereo delay on there, and you can choose from different delays and see which one works for you. To your preference. I've also got this sent to bus 10 again, which is the same send as what the cowbells are sent to, so it's the same sonic space. It should be the bright hall. Yep. So again, I'll show you what that sounds like with the delay and hall. It's got great depth to the sound. Yeah, so both of them together with the hats. Yeah, so that's our percussion we've got there. Also, this bus 16, what was we to get to? I need to turn this fan back on. Computer's roasting. Yeah, bus 16. What this is another space design. Again, this is a drum plate this time. This is just kind of another type of reverb, but obviously more aimed towards drums, as it's called a drum plate. This is medium spaces, plate reverbs, drum plate. I think this is quite good for adding your percussion to kind of make things as one. And that's basically just subtle amounts of this are sent to this bus. The subtlety is key when you're sending signals to buses, and see what works for you best. But that's another little tip you could use using your drum plate on your percussion sounds. Right, so we've got our percussion and our main drums here. I'll show you again what it sounds like all together. Yeah, so it's quite a punchy little setup we've got on the go here. It sounds quite good. Another thing that we definitely need in an EDM track, I mean this is just basic stuff that's essential, but a crash is essential for adding new instruments every 16 or 32 bars, or just adds variance to the track and lets the listener know that something else is going to get introduced. I've also got a reverse 909 crash here. I'll show you how to do that in a second. Right, so our crash, I've loaded this crash up from a sample I've got, but you could just do it by opening up Ultrabeat again, finding a crash that you like, then export as an audio file, and I'll export this as an audio file, because we need to do this. We need to export this as an audio file to get our reverse crash, because we need to make two files, just differently named, and I'll show you why in a second. So you would do export as audio file, and you would put in this is the crash 909, so you would save this one as the crash 909 reverse, which is like here. So we need two different files, we need two different separate sample files. We also need to include audio trail, which is what this is, and if you didn't do that, it would come up a MIDI note instead of an actual audio sample, and add resultant files to audio bin. This just allows you to find the sample quickly in your audio bin up here. So just say I said press save, and then I'd go to my audio bin, and then I would see my 909 crash reverse is what we just made, and then I would drag that in. Say it was this one. So I would double click it. Mind you, right, okay, kind of confuse things. That's our normal crash. We dragged it in, and this is our reverse crash. But this one's been reversed already because I've already reversed it. So to undo our reverse and reverse, I would just go to File, Functions, and Reverse. But that's me just undone my reverse. So there we go. And if you don't save your tracks separately, like your 909 and your reverse 909, both of these channels will reverse instead of just the one. You get what I mean? Yeah, so now we've made two different sample files, and we've reversed one of them just by going into the sample editor and then functions reverse. So we've got these two here, and I've got a few things on these on the channels here. I'll show you what I've got. I've only got one thing on the reverse, on the drum plate at the bottom. I've got an EQ, just taking out low end, as I love to take out low end. And I've got a high shelf, but taking out 7 decibels. And the reason for this is because it makes the crash seem brighter when it comes in. Since you're taking the high end away from the reverse, when the crash hits, I've got it raised, a high shelf raised by 4 decibels here. It sounds brighter when it comes in. This is a good effect to use. Right, okay, so we've got that sent to this drum plate as well, which is all our other drums are sent to, so it just puts it in the same sonic space. So that's all we've got for that crash there. Our crash 909 on the other hand, we've got what I just showed you, the high shelf rolled off sample delay like we used in our snares to make the sample play in both speakers at different times to make it sound wider. And I've got a stereo delay just to delay the crash out. Like as it crashes, it just kind of fades away, you know? Instead of just fading like after the crash has just hit. That doesn't sound as good as it just doesn't sound as flowing as it were. I've also got this sent to the drum bus here as well. Right, okay, so that's all our drums we've got on this. I'll do another tutorial on and show you how to do a sidechain compression is what this is here, to like a bass or that. I'll do this in the next one. And our last thing we want to do, once we've made all our drums and got our sends sorted out, we want to go to File and Save As Template. And I've got this house EDM template tutorial, which is for the purpose of what I'm doing today to show you guys. So you just go save. Actually I will save it because I've made a few changes here. I'll replace that, and then this means every time you want to come to Logic, you open up, you're not opening up to a new, just an empty, oh come on, what's going on? You're not opening up to an empty project where you need to do all these drums again. You open up from a new template that we've just made, and this would give you like the basic startup to your drums, so you could just fire out tracks faster, you know. So now we've got this to work from, like straight away drums, and then you could come up with whatever. And obviously you change things as you do different tracks, like you'll change the percussion and how things work. Yeah, so hopefully you guys liked my little tutorial about setting up a EDM track template. If you guys like this, just like and subscribe. More tutorials to come. Cheers. See ya.